It's moving. It's falling.
Here we go again.
Again.
Another shitter.
We have a familiar face. You may remember Tom from our review of Gravity back in June. By Bullet for My Valentine. That I don't want to ride your carousel line. It's fucking dog shit.
Like that's not even like you can tell that it's trying to be. It feels like it should be a wordplay on a regular saying that people use, but nobody uses. Nobody has ever said that.
Like I just picture Matt Tuck sitting on a carousel crying about his ex-wife
with a shitty haircut.
We had a lot of fun doing that. That was a funny video.
Nothing better than just ripping into a band that made an awful album.
So this album was an album that I hoped would be quite good.
They released 2 songs.
Yeah,
and they were both amazing. They were both really good.
Well, this was like cool. We'll get to discuss a good album. Welcome back to the channel, Tom. Today we're discussing an album that was an interesting album because it was so different to what we expected. Now, following 2 successful albums, when Memoirs came out in 2014, King were hyped up to the point of like everywhere you were seeing them. I saw them on the Slipknot Korn tour and I didn't even know who they were. Memoirs was a success as a whole. Obviously they got some criticism for it, for the overuse of gun lyrics and everything, but I personally thought it was a great insight to a very different culture to my own. Le Petit Mort 2016, what a record.
It was a good record.
Very cool album.
I wasn't in the know about when Memoirs came out. I listened to that album late, but definitely enjoyed it. And Le Petit Mort was definitely something different to anything I've ever heard.
It was such a dark record, and it took the listener through so many styles, and I felt like it was an album that you just listened to as a whole, and it told this continuous story. I listened to it in the dark quite a lot, and I think that's why I got to appreciate it. It had the heavy shit like Alpha and Omega.
Bitch, I am the powers that be. I am Christ crucified on the T. I am the Alpha and the Omega.
Then it had like a blues song, me and Maxine.
And we run the world. Me and Maxine. I know she got a man, but she likes my hands down in her jeans.
Yeah, it went for a lot of different styles.
Very intense records, both.
It was a fucking dark album. They both were.
Yeah.
So, following these 2 albums, 2 members of King left. The drummer, was his name? Andrew Workman, I think his name was. He left, I think it was medical issues there. And Andrew Beale left over, I think it was a money issue.
Yeah, David's not a fan of him.
No, David
is not a fan of the guitar player anymore.
Yeah, he branded him a quitter and all sorts.
I would be very scared.
But yeah, you wouldn't want to fuck with him, would you?
No.
So, 2 members down. They get session people in now live, but I feel like this album didn't benefit from not having a full band, because I felt like it was a lot. King have used a lot of samples before, but this album just felt like there was more of it to replace the not element of not having a full band. That was what I saw.
I just feel like they used too much. They went for they definitely went for something different, which you can always give any band props for, going something different. But I feel like it's something David Gunn had already gone into with, how do you pronounce it? Yavid?
Is it Yavid? Yeah, I don't know.
Yavid. He already went into.
Let's go for Yavid. If it's wrong, we'll get corrected.
Where were you when we would ride, boy? Where were you when we would ride? Where were you when we would ride, boy? Where were you when we would ride? Where were you when we would ride, boy? Where were you when we would ride?
And he's already gone for that style there, so I don't understand why he'd want to merge King into that style as well. I feel like King already has
a separate project.
They have their original sound. Over the last 2 albums.
There's some moments on this album that are straight up like they could be off his other project. Yavid, whatever it is.
Yeah, literally.
It's
Some
not-
of it's not.
It's not very good. It's not my sort of thing anyway. But the artwork got announced, and I thought the artwork for this album was really fucking cool. I love the artwork for this. I think it's crazy. I think it's bright, and it's so out there. There's so many little details in it. And I was hoping the album would be the same, because a lot of King albums are. Memoirs is very different from Le Petit Mort. I think there was a similar sort of sound, but a lot of different, a little different approach to the songs, I think.
I feel like Memoirs was more intense. Le Petit Mort was darker.
Yeah, that's a good way of summing it up.
The Memoirs was more straight up.
They flowed perfectly as albums as well. The way each song just like linked back to each other, it was just a fantastic album, especially Le Petit Mort. I think that was overlooked a little bit because just Memoirs got a bit of bad rap from people who couldn't quite understand the message. But the first thing to notice about this album is it's a lot shorter from both of those albums. Memoirs was an hour and 7 minutes, and Le Petit Mort was an hour and 1 minute. This album's 40 minutes, so it's a good 20 minutes different. Now, there's less songs on this album. I feel like it was going to be a bit more of a simple record, like not so, how to describe it, not so dark as a whole, like not as a continuous story, just lots of individual songs. But that's not really what I hoped for, because I like the King albums when they like flow together and told a continuous story. But I was like, cool, if it's 40 minutes of brilliance, then I'm down for it. The album kicks off with a song that, yeah, get your notes up.
Called Heartbeats. Heartbeats is the opener. It's released as one of the singles. Actually, both the singles that were released before the album came out are actually the first two songs on the record, starting with Heartbeats.
$1 Million was released just before as well.
Was it?
Yeah. Now, Heartbeats, I did a full video on this, I'll link it up in the description, just discussing lyrics and everything and my opinion on the track. But I thought it was a cool intro to the album. I think that it grew on me with listens as well.
It definitely grew on me with listens. When I first listened to it, it's more like the old records, but it's still not like the old records, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, I agree.
It's still different. It takes a couple listens. Everything King has done has taken me a couple listens to get used to.
Yeah, this album's no different.
I
I had to process this album a lot more than I did with the Civil War.
But as an opener, it is good. It's a good song. It's straight up.
My note said a bit of a strange intro. I like the intro. It's got almost sort of a ritual chant in it, and that comes back in the bridge as well. I think it was Hebrew or something I read it was.
I just,
But
it
I think
irritates
that's
me.
cool.
I don't know if I'm just naive. It just gets on my nerves after a while.
That's fair enough.
It's like the first thing you hear as the introduction is cool, but then the introduction develops into something else in a different language, and it gets
Yeah, I get what
a
you're
bit
saying.
irritating.
The bass tone on this song is fantastic. It's just got a really savage bass tone.
A common theme throughout the notes for every song I wrote was that the bass lines, the bass player as a whole, has really been used and utilised more on this album.
Yeah, I agree.
Some of these bass lines are awesome.
Eugene, as a bass player, has always kind of sat in the back pocket a bit. Kind of just played along with the songs. Nothing wrong with that. It really fits King's music. But on this record, I feel like he's really mixed it up a bit. Songs later on in the album, there's some real cool stuff going on. We instantly noticed a new sound straight away on this song. It's got the sort of traditional King heaviness, but there's a whole new vibe to it.
It's definitely a lot faster paced.
Yeah, it's almost rappy, but if the rap was incorporated like this throughout the album, I'd be a lot more of a fan.
Yeah, there is a flow to it.
Yeah, there's a definite flow to it. I thought it was a wicked song to open the album.
It was a lot faster than the other two album intros.
Yeah, I agree.
As an opener, this is a lot fast paced intro, so I really like it.
Next song was Braveheart. Now this was one of my favourite songs on the album. My notes said a bit more like standard King when I was a bit more of what we knew from them. The verses were slow, so the chorus hit really hard. I felt like the lyrics were a bit predictable. I feel like David Gunn has always had the ability to write fantastic lyrics, as heard on songs such as Devil Don't Cry, Wolves Run Together, things like that, A Conversation with God. But I feel like on this song the lyrics are just a bit predictable, big nuts.
It's so
tragic. Shooting Glocks in the air. I just feel like it's a bit.
He has such a good reputation for his lyrics, because on the other two albums he said things that other people were too scared to say. And
Totally.
And now he's just talking about Glocks and having a big cock.
Yeah.
And it's like, shut up.
I feel like the Queen EP. I don't know if you've heard that album. It was
I've heard little bits of that
yeah,
album.
they did a classical stripped down EP called Queen. It wasn't a big deal. It was just a small release they did, and his lyrics on that are the best lyrics I've heard him do.
Someone to hide behind, and I need to find someone to hide behind, someone to hide with me for tonight.
Really good lyrics, and it's hard to believe it's the same guy who wrote this. But this song, I feel like I shouldn't be criticising it as much because it is a fucking good song. Really heavy at times. The chorus is really hard. Great delivery. Feels a lot more like standard King. Although I think this is a bit more what people were expecting.
I agree. Although a lot of times in this album, I feel like David Gunn is a vocalist. He can go through so many different styles. Because you listen to Memoirs and then you listen to Queen, and he has such a diverse vocal.
Even on
tone.
Midwest Monsters 2, it was almost like he utilised it in a hip hop manner.
I feel like every friend I died for has died for me, and I'm left here alone, lost, walking in the streets where I've seen women deteriorate and men do the same. Before I knew it, I had changed, and I ain't going back there again. Things are moving so fast. For what it's worth, I apologize. I've spilled blood.
I feel like he could have utilised his range of tones a bit better. Some of the verses could have done with sounding like the Queen EP and then going into the heavier choruses. I feel like he could have utilised his tone a bit better throughout the record.
Fair, yeah. Hope you didn't like the heaviness because it's now disappeared from this album.
Yeah.
Next is Bang Guns. Now this is where we'll just hit on the lyrics there. This is where I put predictable lyrics feeding a stereotype of King. Now on the first two albums, a lot of people misread it and but got this sort of stereotype of King where they was just like, oh, they're a bunch of gangsters, or they shoot guns, and I always stood up for it because I felt that the albums were just an interesting insight to a different culture, a different way of life, and I felt like it was a brutally honest way of putting it, and I just feel like this song is just predictable lyric wise.
Very. There's a lot of pussy boys.
Yeah, Bang Guns. For me, this song's just too like Murica. Yeah, it's just like, fuck off.
I have no words. I didn't expect this. I definitely didn't expect this from King 810 because they've got such a good reputation, and then they go in and they just say the words pussy and glock and cock and boy.
Good rhyme, word.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'll put electronic verses. The electronic verses are utilised quite a lot throughout this album. There's the first Boogeyman reference on this song. He doesn't say it's the motherfucking Boogeyman.
I was disappointed. He doesn't say
it's
that
not on the
album.
album, but he does say.
Disappointed.
He does say it's the Boogeyman. I hope you never hear that again, or something like that. I put a rap element because at this point, this was first notes. So at this point, I hadn't realised that how much of a rap element there was. I put electronic beat reminds me of "Kill You" by Eminem. I feel like it does remind me a little bit of Eminem's "Kill You."
Yeah, definitely. Like that era of Eminem.
Yeah,
I can see
that early Midwest,
yeah.
not this Midwest Monsters, that's King. Marshall Mathers LP. I put Sudden Change into outro, which was a piano outro. I thought the outro was really cool on the song. I love the way it cuts and goes into that really quite beautiful outro.
The chorus got my tits.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, fuck the chorus. The chorus
Forgot to mention that.
The chorus, the lyrics are trash.
Yeah, it's very repetitive, very weak lyrics.
I wouldn't say it to David Gunn's face, but
yeah, if you're watching this,
if you're watching this, your lyrics are great. Great album, love you, mate.
$1 Million was the next song. This was the last single before the record was released. Now, this song is literally a splitting sound to me of golden age of grotesque era Marilyn Manson, like 2003 sort of era. It's got that sort of chuggy guitar riff, the low delivery vocal. It's very, very early 2000s Marilyn Manson to me personally. It's got a sampled intro in the chorus like Vendettas did. This song reminded me of Vendettas because of the use of samples.
Those who killed a man, can I get a sure?
And press my hands together and pray that God will understand.
Those who killed a man, can I get a show of hands?
No vocals from David Gunn. He mixes up the delivery quite a bit in this song, doing something different with his voice, which I thought was quite cool. It's got quite a chuggy riff with a bit of an electronic influence over it.
I noticed that as a guitar player, I'm very picky when it comes to guitar. The guitar tone is shit. The guitar tone was awful. I couldn't stand this guitar tone. You can tell they're trying to chug, but they've just... There are no mids in this album. They've scooped out the mids completely, so the chug sounds so weak. They sound like it's just synth. I can't stand the guitar.
We had a run about synth on our last review, didn't we?
Oh yeah, because it was the same intro on every fucking song.
I remember. But $1 Million is... I felt like it was a song, when I heard it's a single, yeah, it's nothing special. But I hoped that when it was part of the album, because I did the same with Vendettas, I thought that when I heard it's a song, and then I heard it's part of the album, and I thought it worked quite well. But this song just doesn't seem to add anything to the flow of the album very well. It's okay, but it's nothing really stand out.
Towards the end, the drummers are standing, right? That standing drummer, you can definitely see the difference. He's got a lot of talent. He's not just double bass and Chinese, and he's got a lot of skill. And you can hear that.
I think the standing played on this album. I'm not sure. It's standing touring anyway, for sure.
Well, the drums on this album were great. I feel like they would sound even better in the mix if the guitar tone and everything else was mixed better. I feel like that ruins the drums. But props to them for trying something new. I just don't think it worked.
That's fair, yeah. Next is the first time we really hear a big mix-up. This song is, I think it's 45 after a gun. I guess that's what it is. It's got an atmospheric intro, and then a huge rap influence on the song. Very electronic. I put very Yavid. Too much so, in fact. Just very. This could have been off with Yavid. Was it Black Tooth Devil in Pit, whatever it's called?
I didn't bother. I listened to.
I wasn't a fan.
3
personally.
videos of that. And
It could have been straight off that. The beat again sounds like early Eminem, Marshall Mathers LP era. I definitely could see that.
Except it's shit.
Yeah, apart from that, it was a great record. At this point, I wrote these notes on my first listen. At this point, I wrote, "Miss the heavy vibe from King." It reminds me of the Midwest Monsters 2 EP with the hip hop influence. And again, the lyrics feel predictable. They don't feel as passionate as they did on the other records.
At the start of this album, we were talking about the previous albums being intense and having a flow to them whilst remaining the intensity. Even on the peak,
even in different forms.
In different forms, there was different forms of intensity. They wrote a blues song that still contained intensity.
It was dark. Really,
it was dark. That intensity's gone. It's completely gone. It feels like it's generic process, like Rustlerberger music.
I'm quoting you on that. The only line from this song that really, really struck impact with me was the I had to bag up the bitch. The way he says that line is so powerful, but I just feel like it's just so watered down with this like shitty, mediocre rap.
When the first verse started kicking in, the only thing I could write was cringe. I was cringing so much. At the end of the intro, the thing that's supposed to build up to this epic verse is, have you ever seen a grown man do a backflip?
It's just not good, is it?
Why did he think...
I want to see David Gunn do a backflip.
I want to see...
Post it to your Instagram, then this album might make a bit more sense.
Like destroying punch bags.
Being a unit.
Yeah,
the next song is called What's Gotten Into Me. Now, I wasn't a fan of this song. I put electronic influence again, Boogeyman reference again, theme throughout King Out One lyrics. There's a definite Yavid influence being brought into King here. I noticed this a lot on this song. There's a huge influence of it being brought in. I think too much. Like I get the heartbeat sort of rap influence, but it just sounds like a Yavid solo album in parts. But atmospheric and distorted vocals to sort of give this atmospheric feel. Again, I put it sounds like King, but in a completely different form to before, and it lacks many metal elements of previous records. That was what I started to notice at this point in the album, and I stick to that. It's not a good song.
No, I agree. I put that there are a lot of effects on David's voice throughout this record, which really irritates me because his natural vocal tone is so strong and so solid that when you try and put tons of effects on it, it loses all that intensity. Even further than when you try and make King Wayne go synth and electronically, Yavid to whatever you can have. The drums, again, were well played throughout this record. It's not just double bass and China, it's actually good and it's actually real drums. Chorus is basic, the lyrics are basic, it lacks the metal influence that made King, like they gave them the sound that they made. And I got really excited. I heard all these classical instruments, but then they play 3 notes and fuck off, and it's the end of the song.
Yeah.
It's like they bring in classical instruments, and they could have gone so much further and actually redeemed the song. And they're like, you know what, nah, I'll just leave it.
That's why I'm glad that they're utilised more on the next song, Black Rifle,
Yeah.
which is one of my favourite songs on this record. The last minute, I think, is phenomenal when you hear it really loud. This is a King ballad, and I think the storytelling from David Gunn's lyrics feel much stronger. And this is much more what I hope for lyrically, because I love hearing David go into this sort of storytelling, this dark storytelling mode. This reminds me of something off the Queen EP. It's stripped down, piano used a lot, there's strings. Gunn's voice is really well, that low delivery over the classical instruments. The strings in the background I wrote sounded really good. I love the use of strings when they're used like this. This sounds phenomenal. I put a guitar solo towards the end, which is a rarity for King.
It's amazing. I was so happy. I mean, they could have knocked off about 20 wah pedals, but
the thing is, the last minute of this song is where it really made me love it. The guitar solo was beautiful. The soul vocals that kick in are just phenomenal. They just sound superb. And it's a huge sounding ending. I put my favourite track so far that wasn't the singles. They should get better when digested fully, and it did. Great end section. I heard it a few more times, heard the album probably 4 or 5 times now. That is a huge standout track for me.
I put this song is a straight up King blues song. There is so much blues influence in terms of the piano. The bass lines in this song are incredible.
Oh, I forgot to mention that.
They are incredible. In this song, this is where he just goes on his own, and it's amazing.
Especially that end section.
Yeah.
He's going. There's a lot of high end stuff that he's doing. And it just sounds fantastic.
This song's mixed really well, especially considering there's a lot of texture, there's a lot of instruments playing along.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers going on.
The soul influences towards the end, there are soul backing vocals that just come in at the perfect.
Brilliant.
This song is one of the best songs on the album because it's different.
This reminded me of the sort of me and Maxine direction. I know that was much more of a quiet, sort of slow barroom jazz song. Yeah,
that was more jazzy.
There's sort of a lounge jazz song almost. Yeah. This is more bluesy, I think.
Yeah.
Although the blues solo in that song definitely has so the blues solo in that song definitely brings in the blues influence.
Yeah, there's like one downfall I have on this song, and that was the outro. Like the last minute of this song is so good, and then all the instruments cut out, and you just hear this random soul vocalist have a bit of a voice break at the end. And it's like, you could have cut that out. It's this weird thing at the end.
I seem to be blown away by that section.
I'm nitpicky.
If you want to be picky, I think the next song's the perfect opportunity. God is Watching. This is the worst song on the album for me. After this huge epic outro, and I'm like, fuck, that sounded so good. We're just back to this electronic rap music after this unique, huge song in Black Rifle. It's just lacking the raw energy of Memoirs and Le Petit Mort. Far too much Yavid influence. Yavid. Starting to be at this point I wrote starting to be glad I didn't pre-order.
Yeah.
And then I put SoundCloud called it wants this mumbling mess back. It's just a shit song. I fucking hate this song. It's the worst song on the album for me. It's just not good, is it? What do you say?
There's a cool intro riff that was really starting to bring back this intensity to this song. Unfortunately, it's 5 seconds long and it's cut off by David Gunn's asthma because he just does a massive inhale. And there's electronic drums on this album. That really bugs me because when you give the drummer a shot, he's actually adding a lot of elements to the album. So one of my main... it pisses me off when electronics are used when you've got such a good real drummer there.
Yeah.
There are high screams in this song that just don't sound good at all. David Gunn, mate, don't do high screams. Rapping influences don't work. The guitar tone is awful again. There's none of the energy on the other albums. It's lifeless. It's bland.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not good.
The next song was a song called Wade in the Water. Now this song touches on the Flint, Michigan water crisis where Ned got into the water. And I assume that's what it would be from the title. And the lyrics on the song are some of my favourite lyrics on the album. I think they again, this is what I wanted lyrically. It gives an insight, an interesting and dark insight to such a fucked up place that we've never experienced,
No.
and it gives a really, really interesting insight. It's got a blues style, and I love when King's goes in the style, hence Me and Maxine off the last album. However, it doesn't hit me as hard as Me and Maxine did due to the rawness not being there before. I think the reason Me and Maxine was so effective to me was the album that had so much rawness, songs like The Trauma Model and Wartime, and then when something so different comes in, I'm like, wow, where did this come from? This song, I think I put this song would work better in a different environment, but the album never really took off as much as the other ones. Could have worked well on the other two records, but it just hasn't. This record just didn't benefit from an extremely quiet track. For the first few minutes, I'd say the song was dull as fuck. But when it kicks in, it takes so long for it to go anywhere, but when it does, this song is really good. Because the first few minutes is just nothing happening. It's so dull. It's so boring. Nothing's happening. Good lyrics, but boring song. But when it kicks in and you get the strings and stuff again, they sound great. David's vocals get a bit more intense with the strings, and it just becomes a huge sounding song. And I feel like if it had gone into that sooner, and we hadn't sat through like 3 minutes of nothing, then I feel like the song would have been really good. But yeah, it's an average song.
It's just, I put new genre discovered, lifeless blues, because the first half of it is just.
It's
nothing.
like it's flat. It's lifeless.
And
Nothing's going on.
There are backing vocals. I don't know if you noticed this, but in the verses there are backing vocals, and it's like David Gunn whispering in your ear. I'm not a fan. Don't do that. I don't like that. I'm making you uncomfortable. There's mumbling. There's mumbling in the verses. You can't hear what he's saying, and he's not a mumble rapper. It works on the same track. He doesn't work on this one. The pre-chorus sounds like a wolf. Howl. I don't know what that was. And the chorus is kind of cool, but it's a massive contrast against the verses. The verses are very dark, and then it goes into this really happy sounding chorus. It's a mixture of emotions. And yeah, when it starts to intensify, it gets better.
Yeah.
But it definitely takes way too long to get to
Just
that
takes
stage.
too long to reach that point, I think.
I think the build up in Black Rifle was so good because the first half of the song wasn't dull.
Yeah.
The first half was
I love
good.
the chorus of that song as well. This chorus just had nothing really to it.
It's a shame because
Yeah.
it had potential. It had a lot of potential. And the last song in the album,
Sing Me.
Just Sleep.
Do you want to go start verse on this one?
Alright.
Mix it up.
There are many more electronic influences on this album. There's so much synth. There's so much vocal. There's auto-tune on a King 810 album. There is auto-tune. What world
When
are
you
we
got a
in?
voice like David's,
Yeah.
you'd never expect to hear. Every fucking line.
The lyrics are shocking.
Sing me to sleep.
The lyrics are dreadful. They have a real kit with an electric snare. I noticed this.
I didn't pick
The
that up. I
kit
didn't even
sounds
think
real.
of that.
And the snare is electric.
I was seriously trying to pick
Why?
up the lyrics.
Why? Why would you do that? The backing vocals sound like Android. It sounds like Terminator in the background. They're whispering again. When David Gunn whispered on previous albums, he didn't whisper over a rap song. He whispered over dark material, which is where that intensity came from. But the intensity is just, it's not there. There's none there whatsoever. And the chorus lyrics are shocking. When David Gunn uses auto-tune, you know something has gone dreadfully wrong. The bass line is good, but there are parts where they could have let him go into his own and express more. And it's such a disappointment.
Alright, electronic vibe again, very atmospheric. I've noticed throughout this album, that's what this album seems sort of relies on, atmospheric. There's a lot of atmospheric vibes on the other albums. I think the bridge and the second verse even, Vendettas especially. But I feel like this album just doesn't have it as much. Because the album is not as strong, I just feel like the atmospheric doesn't have the same impact. Auto-tune and effects on his voice used deliberately to give it this psychedelic vibe going on. At first I really hated it. I kind of don't hate it as much now, but still not a fan. So I put surprise borderline rapping again. Midwest Monsters 2 EP vibe a bit, sort of like a Let Me Be Alone almost. Then I put, is this the same band that wrote Kill 'Em All and Alpha and Omega? I know King have always been sort of experimental in music, but with all types of genres, they've gone from country like take it and things like that.
Take it. They try to take the light so I can't see. They try to take the clothes off of me. They try to take the air that I breathe. They try to go and fill me with disease.
We've gone through like rap, blues, jazz, all sorts of stuff, classical, but this album just seems to have a lot of the same thing. It's just a lot of electronic beats, a lot of mediocre, lazy rap over it.
Oh, yeah.
Then I like the piano outro though. I think that's a really nice ending to the album. I like the last chorus where he sort of stops and then it says, if we're both high, and then it goes into that piano outro. Hated this song at first, but after a few listens, it has grown on me a little bit. I can appreciate the psychedelic vibe. It's not my favourite song. It's definitely not as good as State of Nature or A Conversation with God as an album ending, but it's meh, it's okay.
Yeah. As an album outro, they should have picked another song to be as an album outro, because this just fits in with the rest of the album, because this is the same structure that the rest of the album uses. It shouldn't have been 5 minutes and 50 seconds. They could have cut it down.
Yeah, cut it down, yeah.
It was way too long. I nearly fell asleep. It was way too long. I got so bored. But I think they tried to take a different direction, which they always do, and I'm not hating on them for that or whatsoever. But they didn't need to do it with King, because David Gunn has already gone in that direction. We've already heard his voice in that style. So if people want to go listen to that, then sure, you go do that. But I don't want King getting involved with that, because it's not good. But unfortunately they have, and what can I do?
Right, do you want to summarise it? I'll start.
I'll let you summarise.
Alright, I'll go. I'll say Le Petit Mort and Benoit's blew this album away.
Yeah.
I think, if you hate this album on first listen, do give it a couple of listens, because it does grow on you a bit. It's definitely the weakest King album, though, in my opinion. There's a lot of electronic influences coming greatly from his side project, Yavid, whatever it is. But is this album on SoundCloud as well as the vinyl? Nothing really stands out to me, although I like Black Rifle. That song was fucking great. Braveheart was cool as well. But it's no Alpha and Omega at the end of the day. This album just feels like a bit of a misstep, coming after Le Petit Mort, which was a wicked album. I just feel like this album is a huge missed opportunity to capitalise on that. I know it feels like a David Gunn solo album rather than a band. It just feels like his project. I didn't think it really fitted from not having a full band. But yeah, it's just not as strong. I'd just say it's definitely not as strong musically or lyrically. I think there's moments of greatness on here. I go Heartbeats, Braveheart, Black Rifle, part of Wade in the Water, and like the end section of Singing to Sleep. I like that. But other than that, the album just feels meh.
The other two albums are phenomenal, both of them for different reasons. This album, although at first listen you're probably not going to like it if you like the other albums, it has a weird thing about it that makes you want to listen to it again.
I totally agree.
I had to listen to it again.
I've heard it a few times.
Twice. I had to listen to it again to think, well, am I being too harsh? Am I just being like a metal elitist? It's just like, but it's just, it's not what I expected. It's not what I hoped for coming from David Gunn and the rest of, well, I say the rest of the drummer.
Bassist?
Oh yeah, bassist. Not even the drummer. He's got it.
But yeah. So my pros and cons personally, I'll go. Production sounds good on some songs. There's a lot of experimental stuff going on, mixing up of genres and stuff going on. There's some cool, intense moments, but on negatives, there's lack of intensity. I think to contrast that, there's too much like electronic rap influence. I just feel like I'm listening to a Yavid album. Yeah, it's just nowhere near as good as Le Petit Mort, and kind of disappointing.
Some good things they did. There were a lot better use of other band members instead of just the vocalist and the guitarist. I feel like the drummer definitely, and the bassist, got to sort of do their own thing with different styles and show off their skills. The production was good. Other than for the guitars, we'll get on the negatives And there were moments on this album that worked, but a lot of them didn't. A lot of the electronic influences didn't work. I feel like
It was a risk, wasn't it?
it was a risk. They took it, which is fair enough. But I personally don't think it worked. It's not my thing. But all in all, it was disappointing for what it could have been. I'm not even saying get rid of all the electronic songs. There are some songs on there that could have been so much better if you just tweaked a few things.
Yeah, there was
It
just
could
some
have-
improvements that could have been made. Yeah,
It could have been.
it was just.
But-
I feel it was just a misstep. It
Yeah.
was just like so there was moments of greatness on there, but then there was so much crap that bogged it down as well. So, do you want to go on to ratings or anything else you want to mention?
Nah, that's it.
So ratings. Do you want to go first? We'll do. I'll go. Tom will go out of 5. I'll go out of 5, and we'll put it together to do an overall out of 10.
I'll go 2 out of 5. Because there are a lot of this things. You see, I'm doing this review on 2 listens of the album.
True. Yeah.
So my opinions always change when it comes to music. I'm awful.
I did that on the Ghost album.
But I think it's good to do the review on the first listen.
Mm.
First impression.
So you're going 2?
I'm going 2 out of 5.
I'll go 2.5. I thought it was mediocre, but I didn't think it was awful or good. I just thought it was.
4.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
That's a lot better than Gravity.
Yeah, Gravity did 2 out of 10. So
Did it?
yeah, well, I gave it 1. You gave it 1.
Oh, I just probably give it like a 0.
I regret not giving it a 0.5. But yeah, this is hopefully next time you're on, we actually review an album that we both really love.
Well, you see, we knew Gravity was going to be awful. because
That's why I got him on. This album I was hoping would be really
yeah,
good.
we were hoping this time we wouldn't actually rip into another band. By the way, David Gunn, I love you. You see this, don't hurt me. You'll find where I live.
Well, thank you for coming on again.
No worries.
I think
buddy.
this is hope you've enjoyed watching. You can
Yeah,
leave
I'm
now.
off.
Hope you've
I'm
enjoyed
off.
watching, and I'll
Yeah,
see
it's
you.
all right.
Bye. And I'll see you later on for another video.